You won't hear this from your regular doctor, but I'll say it plainly. Masturbating first thing in the morning, after age 60, could be quietly weakening your heart, disrupting your blood circulation, and slowly destroying the intimacy you've spent a lifetime building. I know that sounds dramatic, but I've seen it, over and over again, in my clinic. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, a specialist in men's health with over 30 years of experience helping older men regain their energy, intimacy, and sense of vitality. I've worked with thousands of patients just like you, smart, self-aware men who want to age well, stay strong, and protect what matters most, their health, their relationships, and their sense of self. Now here's the paradox. Many men believe that masturbation is always healthy, and it can be, but done at the wrong time, in the wrong way, especially during those delicate morning hours, it can do far more harm than good. That's because your body, your blood pressure, your hormone levels, they all shift dramatically in the morning. And if you don't understand how these shifts interact with self-stimulation, you may be draining your energy, dulling your desire, and slowly disconnecting from your partner without even realizing it. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 specific morning habits that are silently sabotaging your circulation and intimacy after 60 and how to fix them starting today. Because once you understand what's really going on, you can turn this from a risk into a powerful tool for connection, health, and strength. Before we dive in, if you're someone who values your health, intimacy, and strength as you age, I invite you to subscribe and turn on the bell, so you never miss another tip designed specifically for men over 60. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0, and let me know how I can better support you on your journey. Alright, now let's talk about the first habit, because this one catches most men off guard. It happens in those first few minutes after waking up, when your body's still stiff, your mind's not fully alert, and your heart is working overtime to get your system going. Most men don't realize it, but this is actually the most dangerous time to stimulate yourself. And here's why. 1. The morning pressure spike, rushing into it right after waking up. I'll be honest with you, this is the one habit that even my most health-conscious patients don't see coming. It's so common, so routine, that men hardly question it. You wake up, maybe you feel a bit of morning arousal, and almost out of instinct, you reach for a moment of release. No forethought, no awareness, just a quick escape to start the day. But after 60, this reflex can quietly become one of the most dangerous things you do to your body without even realizing it. See, what most men don't know is that your blood pressure is naturally at its highest within the first 30 minutes after waking up. Your body is transitioning from rest to alertness. Your cardiovascular system is adjusting, and your nervous system is still recalibrating. When you rush into masturbation during this fragile window, especially before even getting out of bed, you're putting extra strain on a heart that's already working harder than usual. And over time, that strain adds up. One of my patients, 67 years old, came in complaining of fatigue, low libido, and shortness of breath later in the mornings. We went through every part of his routine, and it wasn't until he casually mentioned clearing his head first thing in the morning that the red flag went up. What he thought was helping him relax was actually sending his blood pressure soaring, compressing blood vessels, reducing oxygen to his lower body, and setting the tone for sluggish energy the rest of the day. And it doesn't stop at circulation. Morning masturbation in this rushed, reflexive state also throws off your hormone rhythm, testosterone production, cortisol balance, and even dopamine release. All of it gets disrupted. Instead of feeling energized or fulfilled, you may find yourself more anxious, less focused, and emotionally flat. You think you're relieving stress, but you're actually feeding it. If this sounds like you, it's time to change the habit. Give your body space to wake up. Hydrate, stretch, breathe, move. Wait at least 30 to 45 minutes before any form of sexual stimulation. You'd be amazed how much stronger, clearer, and more connected you feel when you respect your body's rhythm. This one shift can bring back a sense of control and vitality that you haven't felt in years. And if this first habit surprised you, wait until you hear what might be happening to your body simply because of the way you're lying down. It's something almost no one talks about, but every older man needs to know. If you're still here and these insights are resonating with you, type the number 1 in the comments so I know you're still with me and taking this journey seriously. Now let's keep going, because what comes next might be even more important. 2. Flat on your back, locked in tension, bad posture, bad flow. Now let me take you a little deeper, into something that seems so harmless, so automatic, that most men never give it a second thought: the position you're in. Specifically, how you're lying there, flat on your back, stiff, locked in, and often not even breathing properly. I've heard this story so many times from my patients. You wake up, don't even get out of bed, and you just go for it. Lying on your back, under the sheets, everything clenched tight, your core, your thighs, your jaw. It's quick, it's private, it's convenient, and on the surface, it seems like no big deal. But here's what's really happening under the surface. When you masturbate in that rigid, reclined position, especially while holding your breath or tensing your muscles, you're doing more than just limiting your comfort. You're cutting off healthy blood flow to the exact areas that need it most. Your pelvic floor becomes tight and constricted. Your lower back absorbs pressure it's not designed for. Your prostate, which is already more sensitive as you age, is getting compressed unnecessarily. And your nerves, those delicate pathways that control arousal, pleasure, and release, start to lose their responsiveness. I once worked with a man named David. He was 71, a retired engineer, smart, disciplined, and completely unaware that his daily routine was slowly sabotaging his sexual health. He told me he had trouble feeling much during climax, that it felt dull, almost mechanical. When I asked him how he usually did it, he described exactly what I just told you: lying flat, not moving, getting it over with. It broke my heart, because what he thought was just part of aging was actually the result of years of poor physical habits. And here's the other layer. When your body is locked in tension, your nervous system thinks you're under stress. That means more cortisol, more adrenaline, less oxytocin, less connection. You're robbing yourself of the deep, satisfying chemical signals that build intimacy, not just with someone else, but even with yourself. So here's what I tell my patients. Change the posture, change the experience. Sit up, stretch, support your lower back, loosen your legs, breathe. You'll not only feel more, you'll function better. Over time, these small adjustments can help restore the sensitivity and strength you thought was gone forever. And speaking of sensitivity, what if I told you the way you mentally check out during self-pleasure may be doing even more damage than poor posture? Let's talk about that next, because what's going on in your mind might be the very thing pulling you away from real connection. 3. Mindless stimulation. The death of emotional intimacy. This one cuts deeper, not just physically, but emotionally. And I say this not just as a doctor, but as someone who's had hundreds of quiet, honest conversations with older men who feel something slipping away, even if they can't quite name it. There's a pattern I see all too often. You wake up early, alone, maybe a little restless. You don't feel particularly aroused, but out of routine, out of habit, or maybe just to pass time, you start stimulating yourself. You're not thinking much. You're not present. You just want to feel something. And for a few moments, you do. But what comes after? That's the part no one wants to talk about. The truth is, when masturbation becomes a mindless, disconnected act, especially first thing in the morning, it begins to reshape how your brain relates to desire, connection, and even love. I've had men in their 60s and 70s quietly admit that it's harder for them to feel attracted to their partners, that they feel emotionally distant, that sex feels like effort instead of intimacy. And often, they blame age. But in many cases, it's not age, it's this exact habit. When you disconnect from the moment and rely on fantasy, quick pleasure, or screens to stimulate yourself, your brain starts to rewire what turns you on. Over time, real touch feels dull. Real intimacy feels complicated. Real connection feels inconvenient. And eventually, a wedge starts to form, between you and the person next to you, and even between you and yourself. One man I worked with, in his late 60s, told me that after his morning routine, he'd often feel numb. Not relaxed, not satisfied, just empty. And that emptiness followed him through the day. He loved his wife, but found himself pulling away from her, emotionally and physically. Not because he didn't care, but because he'd unintentionally trained his brain to prefer solitude over connection. And I get it. Life gets quieter as we age. Sometimes we seek comfort in private habits. But those habits, if done without awareness, can slowly chip away at the very closeness we crave. So if you've been going through the motions, just to fill time, just to feel something, it's time to pause, to slow down, to be present with yourself. Your body still remembers how to connect. You just have to give it the space. And speaking of space, there's one more habit that might seem harmless but is quietly robbing your energy for hours afterward. It happens right after climax, and most men skip it entirely. Let's talk about that next. If you're still watching and finding this valuable, drop a number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and engaged. Now let's keep going. Point number 4 is something most men overlook, but it makes a bigger impact than you might think. 4. No recovery ritual. Skipping the aftercare hurts more than you think. Now this one, it often goes completely unnoticed, not because it's rare, but because it's rushed, dismissed, brushed off like it doesn't matter. But it does. In fact, what you do in the minutes after you climax might be just as important, maybe even more important, than the act itself. Here's what I see far too often. A man finishes masturbating in the early morning, then immediately pulls up the covers, checks his phone, or heads straight to the kitchen for coffee. No pause, no breath, no moment to allow his body to reset. It's over. Done. Move on. But your body doesn't work that way, especially after 60. When you climax, your body goes through a complex series of hormonal shifts. Testosterone dips temporarily. Dopamine, the feel-good chemical, spikes and then plummets. Oxytocin, the hormone that builds connection, flashes and fades quickly. And if you just jump into your day without giving your system a chance to recover, you're setting yourself up for fatigue, irritability, brain fog, and in some cases, even low-level depression. I remember one patient, Richard, 73 years old, who told me he felt off most mornings. Low energy, short temper, trouble focusing. He assumed it was just part of getting older, but when we dug into his routine, the pattern was clear. He was finishing his morning habit and going straight into his day like nothing happened. But inside, his body was begging for balance. You wouldn't walk away from a workout without cooling down. You wouldn't take off on a road trip without checking the tires. And yet so many men finish masturbation and skip the very recovery their bodies need to heal and stay strong. What does that recovery look like? It's simpler than you think. Just 5 to 10 minutes of slow breathing, a moment of stillness, maybe even a short walk or light stretching. Let your heart rate settle, let your hormones level out, thank your body. This simple ritual can restore clarity, boost mood, and most importantly, protect your long-term energy and emotional health. Because the truth is, it's not the act itself that's hurting you, it's the way you're ending it. And if you change just this one part, you can completely shift how you feel for the rest of the day. Now, if any of these habits sounded familiar and hit a little close to home, don't worry, you're not alone. And the good news is, there are simple things you can start doing today to undo the damage and reclaim your strength. Let's talk about exactly what those steps are. 5. What you need to start doing today. If any part of you is feeling a little uneasy right now, that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a sign that you're paying attention to your body, your habits, your health. And the truth is, awareness is the first step toward real change. The beautiful part about everything we've talked about today is this: it's not too late, not even close. Your body still responds, your heart still listens, and you still have the power to take control, starting today. So let's make this simple. First, if you've been rushing into masturbation the moment you wake up, stop. Give your body at least 30 to 45 minutes to rise naturally. Get out of bed, drink some water, move your limbs. Take a few deep breaths. Wake up fully, physically and mentally, before even thinking about any kind of stimulation. Second, change your posture. If you've been lying flat on your back, tensed and rigid, start sitting upright or gently supported. Create space in your body so blood can flow, so nerves can breathe, so your lower back and pelvic floor aren't carrying all the pressure. This small shift makes a big difference over time. Third, reconnect with intention. No more checking out, going through the motions, or relying on screens to simulate connection. Focus on being present. Let your breath guide you. Feel what your body feels. Let it be a moment of care, not just release. That awareness can begin to heal the disconnection you didn't even realize had crept in. And finally, don't skip the recovery. When you're done, don't just move on. Give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. Sit still, stretch, breathe. Let your nervous system settle. Let your hormones realign. That simple act of recovery tells your body, I respect you, I'm listening to you, and I'm working with you, not against you. These aren't just habits, they're signals. Signals to your brain, your heart, your hormones, and your relationships. And when you get them right, you don't just feel better. You show up better in every part of your life. But the most powerful part of all? It's what happens next, not just today, but every morning moving forward. Because now that you know the truth, you have a choice. And in our final moments together, I want to leave you with something even deeper. A reminder of what real strength and connection look like after 60. Let's close with that. A new kind of strength. If you've stayed with me this far, I want to thank you, not just for listening, but for being open. These aren't always easy conversations to have. When we talk about intimacy, about aging, about the quiet habits we keep behind closed doors, there's vulnerability there. But there's also strength, real, grounded strength, in being willing to take a closer look at how you're living and how that's shaping the man you are today. We've covered a lot. We talked about the risks of rushing into masturbation right after waking, when your heart and blood vessels are still under pressure. We uncovered how lying flat and tensing your body without thinking can slowly rob your circulation, your sensation, and your energy. We explored how mentally checking out during self-pleasure can lead to emotional distance, not just from others, but from yourself. And we looked at how skipping the recovery phase, those quiet few minutes after climax, can leave your body more stressed, not less. None of these habits are evil or shameful, they're just unconscious. Repeated often enough, they become patterns. Patterns that steal from your vitality, your intimacy, your peace of mind. But once you see them for what they are, you're no longer stuck. You have a choice now. And the truth is, it doesn't take massive change to see results. It takes awareness, patience, and a little respect for the man you are now, not the man you were 20 or 30 years ago. Because aging doesn't mean shrinking. It doesn't mean giving up on pleasure, connection, or strength. It means learning to adapt, to understand your body more deeply, to move with it instead of fighting it, and to stop accepting silent decline as your new normal. Every day, I see men who make small, thoughtful shifts in their morning routines, and those shifts ripple out. They start sleeping better, thinking clearer, connecting with their partners in ways they thought were long gone. They start feeling like themselves again, not who they were at 35, but something wiser, more grounded, and even more whole. So if something in this spoke to you, hold on to it. Don't let it be just another video or another idea that fades by tomorrow. Let it be a turning point. Let it be a quiet decision you make, right here, right now, to stop rushing, to start paying attention, and to honor the strength you've earned. You're not losing power. You're learning how to use it differently. And that's the beginning of a new kind of strength.